Now let's look at some common sources of errors in social cognition. We are not always rational, as we tend to overestimate how effective we are and underestimate risks. This leads to several cognitive biases. The main sources of error we'll discuss are optimism bias, the planning fallacy, counterfactual thinking, and magical thinking. Optimism bias means we often think positive events are more likely and negative events are less likely than they really are. For example, we might believe we are less likely to get into a car accident or more likely to succeed in a new business than statistics show. This bias can help us stay motivated and pursue goals, but it can also make us take risks and feel disappointed. The planning fallacy is when we underestimate how much time or resources a task will need, even if we have done similar things before. That's why projects often go over budget or miss deadlines. Optimism bias and the planning fallacy are connected, as both involve unrealistic views about the future. Counterfactual thinking is when we imagine different outcomes for things that have already happened, like thinking, if only we had left earlier, we wouldn't have missed the bus. This can help us learn from mistakes, but it can also make us feel regret or dwell on the past. Magical thinking is when we believe our thoughts, words, or actions can affect events in ways that don't follow the normal rules of cause and effect, like thinking that just by wishing, a loved one will call us. These sources of error can strongly affect our decisions and well being. Karpik and Dunning explain that overconfidence often comes from not knowing what we don't know. This is why we sometimes make predictions or plans that are too optimistic. The planning fallacy stands out because even when we remember similar past experiences, we still underestimate the time and resources needed. We usually focus on the best case scenario and overlook possible problems. Counterfactual thinking can help us learn from mistakes and improve future decisions. But if we focus too much on what if situations, it can lead to regret and dissatisfaction. Magical thinking is surprisingly common and can shape our actions in ways we might not notice. For example, we might avoid certain things because we think they bring bad luck, even if there's no logical reason. By understanding these sources of error, we can become more aware of our own biases and make better choices. Magical thinking happens when we make assumptions that don't stand up to logical examination but still feel true to us. These beliefs usually come from automatic and unconscious processes. For example, we might believe that wearing a lucky charm will help us succeed, or that thinking positively before an exam will guarantee a better grade. We also see magical thinking in superstitions, rituals, and the placebo effect, where simply believing a treatment will work can actually lead to real improvements. This highlights how our minds shape our experiences. To sum up, optimism bias, the planning fallacy, counterfactual thinking, and magical thinking are all ways our thinking can go wrong. If we recognize these biases, we can try to reduce their impact and make more rational decisions. This is especially important in high stakes situations like business, healthcare, or personal relationships. Let's remember these ideas as we continue.